All right, guys, I got a little bit of a show for you today. Um, okay, so I was reading a post by Trump. We'll get into that in a moment. That almost sounded like the Insurrection Act was being declared. And then I got into, well, Barry Cunningham, YouTube streamer, also felt that that's what it was. But I re-looked at what everything is entailed into doing that. So let's go through it so that if you see people saying that, you know what the truth is and so on. I had recorded a whole entire video and then I kept reading it and I'm like, I mean, he could have said something, but that, anyway, so let's take a look at this. So this is where we're going to start. This is what we've seen over the past day or so. This is from 5 minutes ago. Riot Watch Portland and LA are getting spicy. Patriot streamers are getting assaulted in the crowds. Trump needs to send in the National Guard. Insurrection Act now. Order must be restored. Petulant children, the product of the timeout generation. And here is those videos here. I'm guessing he's the guy that's streaming them. So we've got that. And then we've got this as well. This happened in Eugene, Oregon. Just got sieged by raging leftists. Windows smashed. Oh, sorry about that. Agents assaulted, property trashed, and now it's having to be boarded up like a war zone because local police did absolutely nothing to stop it. No shock there, because the government is in on the insurrection as well. This is from last night. You can see what was going on in the streets there. They were getting gassed, crying about it, and so on. It's definitely an insurrection. We've got this. Anti-ICE marched through Minneapolis on Friday and broke windows in countless parked cars. Mayor Jacob Frey incited this. He did nothing to hold the perpetrators accountable. This is a terrible city that is Minneapolis. So we've got that. And then we've got this in LA that was happening. This was happening outside, I do believe, the ICE facility. They were rioting. They were breaking things, of course, waving flags of every country but this one. And then this is 47 minutes ago from Gunther Eagleman. Law enforcement is finally doing something about leftist rioters outside the LA ICE building. These comrades should be made to regret leaving their mother's basement. Bunch of performative clowns. The cry when accountability is slightly delivered. So this is what's going on tonight. Now, I wanted to bring all of that to your attention because there are going to be people that think that he already declared it. I was one of them after reading it, but then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, no, he didn't quite do everything that needed to be done there. Now, on January 6th, he did declare it. He said, go home and be peaceable. That is one of the things that can be done and said, but here we go. So this is what happens. Key steps for invocation. Let me move this over here so I'm not looking away from the microphone. Assess the situation. The president determines if conditions warrant invocation under one of the Act's provisions detailed below. Issue the proclamation. Before deploying forces, the president must publicly issue a proclamation ordering the insurgents or those causing obstruction to disperse and return home peacefully within a specified time. This serves as a warning and is required as a prerequisite. Deploy forces if necessary. Okay, so that's the beginning of what needs to be done there. I did it again, guys. Look at me forgetting to turn off the opener. It's almost like it's predictable at this point. So there you have it. Now we will take a look at this. Here we go. Let me get that brought up. Regular news tab. Okay. So here is the actual law. Okay. We're going to switch some windows around here so I can do this while talking. So here's the actual law right here. Let me make sure that you can see it. I need to close this little bit here. Get that out of the way. Okay. So this is from 10 USC 331 through 35. Section 331, federal aid for state governments. Whenever there's an insurrection in any state against its government, the president may, upon the request of its legislator or of its governor, or if the legislator can't be convened, call into federal service such of the militia or other states in a number of requests by that state and use such armed forces as he considers necessary to suppress the insurrection. Okay. Section 332, use militia and armed forces to enforce federal authority whenever the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impractical to enforce laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings. He may call into federal service, such as the military of any state, and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or suppress the rebellion. All right, Section 333 interferes with state and federal law. The president, by using the militia or the armed forces or both, or by any other means, shall take such measures as he considers necessary to suppress in a state any insurrection, domestic violence, unlawful combination, or conspiracy if it hinders the execution of laws in that state. So if the state can't enforce its own laws, which they don't really anyway in those blue states, and of the United States within the state. So if the laws of the United States can't be enforced, like they're impeding ICE operations, destroying ICE facilities, destroying government property, so on and so forth, which I just showed you they're doing, and we all know that they've been insurrecting against ICE. So constituted authorities of that state are unable, fail, or refuse to protect that right, privilege, or immunity, or give protection, or opposes or obstructs the execution of the laws in the United States, or impedes the course of justice under those laws. So in other words, if they're not going to enforce the laws as a state or as local enforcement and so on, then yeah, we're sending them in. In any situation covered by clause, the state shall be considered to have denied the equal protection of the laws secured by the Constitution. Proclamation to disperse. Whenever the president considers it necessary to use militia or armed forces under this chapter, he shall, by proclamation, immediately order the insurgents to those obstructing the enforcement of laws to disperse and retire peaceably to their abodes within a limited time. So that's the important part right there. This is what makes me think that he did not declare it. So let's take a look at his Truth Social post really quick. Here we go. This is the Truth Social post. So he says, I have instructed Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem that under no circumstances are we going to participate in various poorly run Democrat cities with regard to their protests and or riots unless and until they ask us for help. We will, however, guard, and very powerfully so, any and all federal buildings that are being attacked. Hang on here, let me bring that up. There we go. They're being attacked by these highly paid lunatics, agitators, and insurrectionists. Please be aware that I have instructed ICE and or Border Patrol to be very forceful in this protection of federal government property. There will be no spitting in the faces of our officers, Pretty. There will be no punching or kicking the headlights of our cars, Pretty. And there will be no rock or brick throwing at our vehicles or our patriot warriors. If there is, those people will suffer an equal or more consequence. In the meantime, by copy of this statement, I am informing local governments, as I did in Los Angeles when they were rioting at the end of the Biden term, that you must protect your own state and local property. In addition, it is your obligation to also protect our federal property, buildings, parks, and everything else. We are there to protect federal property only as a backup, in that it is local and state responsibility to do so. Last night in Eugene, Oregon, these criminals, as I showed you, broke into a federal building and did great damage, also scaring and harassing the hardworking employees. Local police did nothing in order to stop it. We will not let that happen anymore. If local governments are unable to handle the insurrectionists, agitators, and anarchists, we will immediately go to the location where such help is requested and take care of the situation very easily and methodically, just as we did in Los Angeles riots 1 year ago, where the police chief said that we couldn't have done it without the help of the federal government. Therefore, to all complaining local governments, governors, and mayors, let us know when you are ready and we will be there. But before we do so, you must use the word please. Remember that I stated in the strongest language to beware. ICE, Border Patrol, or if necessary, our military will be extremely powerful and tough in the protection of our federal property. We will not allow our courthouses, federal buildings, or anything else under our protection to be damaged in any way, shape, or form. I was elected on a policy of border control, which has now been perfected, national security and law and order, and that's what America wants, and that's what America is getting. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so there you have it, and this is important because this is a proclamation in my humble opinion. I think this is a proclamation because you can see this sat for 6 hours, 7 hours before he posted something okay, so 6 hours before he posted something like 7 hours later, 6 hours later. Before that, he was posting normally, right? I mean, you can see 10 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours, like multiple posts per hour, and then he let that one sit so that they'd all see it. So that matters because that stands out as a proclamation, which we know he has to do. The proclamation is really, look, disperse and go home. But you did not see anywhere in there that said disperse and go home. He did tell these insurrectionists and insurgents that they would be dealt with pretty harshly if they, continued the behavior. As you can see, LA, they're stepping up. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Now we'll see what these other extremely blue areas like Minneapolis and Portland and Eugene and all that. We'll see what they do. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention. There was just a ruling by a judge that said, in Minneapolis or whatever, Minnesota, they tried to make it so that ICE couldn't do their operations. The judge was like, you can't, no, they're going to do their operations. We just had that other judge rule that they can do whatever they need to quell the violence. So Trump's sitting pretty. And then if you remember last year, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Chicago to some degree, but it was strange because their logic on this was that, when you read that, the terminology, if the usual forces cannot handle the situation, then you send in the National Guard. They were saying Trump shouldn't have sent in the National Guard there. But they also said the usual forces are the military, whereas we've all kind of assumed like that would be cops, state, local cops. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do think, though, however, that post was the prerequisite to the insurrection. I think he's finally saying, look, because he mentioned the military. I think he's finally saying, look, do what you're supposed to do, like we're seeing LA do, or else it's going to be declared. And most likely, a lot of the leaders there will probably, go bye-bye with the rioters as well. But that's just my take, guys. I just wanted to clarify that because I know I saw Barry Cunningham say that. I kind of thought that maybe that's what it was as well. But obviously, it's not because he didn't use the right terminology. So we'll see what happens next. We'll see who follows his instructions as far as what he said they need to do and who doesn't. And we'll see what happens after that. So you can see we get to sit and wait again. I'm not upset about it. I think that the plan is probably to declare it because it's getting to a point now where they're getting even more violent and it's going to have to be done, I think. Anyway, guys, that's what I got for you. I will talk to you very, very soon. Please.